This is how ferocious a fire it was. It raged so quickly through this Quebec seniors' residence. Firefighters did what they could, but it wasn't enough. Good evening and thanks for joining us. 3 of the seniors who lived in that complex are confirmed dead tonight. At least 27 others are still missing. Most of them had limited mobility, and it's feared they were trapped inside. It happened in L'Île Verte, a Quebec village on the south shore of the St. Lawrence, about 2.5 hours from Quebec City, a village that is utterly devastated tonight. It's a place where everyone knew each other. And as Mike Armstrong reports, they still can't comprehend what's happened.
In the face of this inferno, most of the victims didn't have a chance. It started just after midnight, and within minutes, most of the structure was engulfed. The building was made mostly of wood, and it was windy. The flames spread very quickly. Neighboring homes were evacuated. This woman was woken up and says by the time she walked outside, it was too late. She says it was minus 30 degrees outside, but the flames were so high she couldn't feel the cold. Getting out of the residence would have been very difficult for most of the people in the building. The bulk of them had limited mobility and would have needed walkers and wheelchairs. The average age was over 80. François Soucy had a family member in the residence, his grandmother's partner. He isn't holding out hope. He disappeared, Soucy says, but he disappeared there. There isn't much of a chance he's alive. The home was called Les Résidences du Havre. It was built in 1997 and expanded in 2002. There was a hairdresser and a pharmacy on site, but at night there would have been only 2 employees, a nurse and an orderly, not enough to get people out. In a town of this size, a massive loss like this affects the entire community. Pierre Morin calls it an awful day for his hometown.
Everybody have a cousin, great mother, everybody have somebody over there. It's very bad.
There is one thing you hear over and over today, that this feels like Lac Mégantic, the tragedy last summer when 47 people were killed in a train derailment. This is another community that is in for a long struggle. Soucy's son Olivier sang with his choir at the residence just 2 weeks ago. He says he had a very difficult conversation with his son this morning. Most of the people he sang for are lost. Most of the injured people were brought to hospital here in Rivière-du-Loup, about a half an hour away. Sadly, that's only 6 people, a far cry from the nearly 3 dozen missing tonight. Donna?
So much grief there tonight. Mike Armstrong, thank you. Among those offering condolences to the families of those affected, Canada's Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, who is traveling in Jordan.
And a community like that is going to touch just about every single family. So we just want to express, myself, Lorraine, Christian, all members of our government obviously express our condolences for this terrible loss of life.
And as many wait for word on their loved ones, the grief is mixed with many, many questions tonight. How did that fire start, and how did it spread with such devastating speed? There's already word not all the buildings had sprinkler systems, and that fire safety prevention measures in place in other provinces aren't mandatory in all Quebec seniors' homes. Mike Couteur is looking into that for us tonight.
In a tragedy like this, one of the first questions is always, could it have been prevented? Global News has learned from Quebec government documents the answer may have been yes. The health department says the residents had smoke detectors in each room, but only a partial sprinkler system. Fire officials say the original building didn't have a sprinkler system, and that is what burned to the ground last night. The newer wing, built in 2002, had sprinklers, and it remains largely intact. Now, provincial officials are concerned about that, but aren't ready to lay blame just yet.
We're waiting for the result of the inquiry, which will go in L'Île Verte to understand where is the failure, what happened, and when we see what happened, we'll see where we can tighten the rules.
Retirement and assisted living centres are governed by the healthcare system of each province, so there are no national standards. Sadly, there have been several tragic fires at retirement homes in recent years. This 2009 blaze in Orillia, Ontario, killed 4 people and left 6 other residents critically injured. But it led to an Ontario coroner recommending sweeping security changes at retirement homes, including making automatic sprinklers mandatory.
We all agreed that sprinklers save lives, and we all agreed that protecting seniors was paramount to our sector.
Sadly, that philosophy was not adopted in Quebec before last night's devastating fire. But it's something legislators will likely take a serious look at now. Donna?
I'm sure they will. Mike Couteur, thanks. This is among the worst fires in Canadian history at seniors' homes. In 1980, 21 people were killed in a fire at a nursing home in Mississauga, Ontario. 22 people died in a similar fire in Gould's, Newfoundland in 1976. And the greatest loss of life happened in 1969 when 54 people perished in a nursing home fire in Notre-Dame-de-Lac, Quebec.